The First Voyage of Sinbad the Sailor.
My father was a merchant of high rank and rich possessions. He died when I was a child, leaving me all his wealth. I lived in a sumptuous manner, and continued this life for many years until, at last, the money started to finish off and I found with dismay that I had sunk into poverty. This made me realize that I need to do something for myself. So I sold what goods remained to me for 3,000 pieces of silver, and girded myself, resolving to travel to other lands and rebuild my fortune. By the wit of my mind and the labor of my hands, with a part of my hoard, I bought merchandise for exchange in far lands, and also such things as I should require in my travels. Thus prepared, I set sail with a company of merchants on a ship bound for the city of El Basra. For many days and nights, we sailed upon the sea, visiting islands and passing forward to other islands, and everywhere we bartered, and bought and sold. At one particular point, we were at the sea for many weeks. The sailors, captain and I, were sick of the sea. At last, we saw an island. It was unlike the others. It was flat and seemed like a garden that had floated from off the sides of paradise, and established itself in the sea. And here our ship cast anchor and we landed. The captain granted leave to sailors wanting to set foot on this large flat island. Everyone started dancing and singing. Very quickly, some sailors lit the fire, while some cooked. Others washed in the cool stream, and yet others amused themselves admiring the beauties of the place. I went for a walk as I wanted to admire the beauty of the island. But, suddenly, a cry from the captain of the ship put an end to our joys. Standing at the side of the vessel, he called loudly,
"Hasten back and leave everything. Save yourselves from sudden death, for this is not an island. It is a mighty fish, lying entranced in sleep on the surface of the sea, and since it is sleeping for a very long time, grass and trees have grown upon it. But our fires and frolicking have awakened it. Save yourselves."
Hearing this, we all, with one accord, left everything and fled for the ship, hoping to escape with our lives. Most sailors started swimming back when the fish moved with great turmoil. It was greatly disturbed by our lunch fire. Since I was at the furthest, I was unable to reach the ship quickly and fish started to sink. It threw me into the sea and vanished. The waves were very high and they leapt against each other. For a time, gave myself up, but then I found a wooden plank and held myself onto it. Meanwhile, the captain had already spread the sails and, fearing that I had drowned, put the ship out in the sea. In vain. I called on the captain again and again, but the noise of the thundering waves made it impossible for him to hear or see me. I lost hope as I watched the ship unfurl its sails and hurry away. I paddled with my hands for a while, but soon darkness fell. My strength was almost gone. I could hardly hold onto the plank. All night fish nibbled at my toes. A giant wave thrashed me against a steep island cliff. I do not remember much after that. When I woke up, I found myself in a strange place. There were trees overhanging. My limbs were benumbed, and, on looking at my legs, I saw the marks made by the nibbling teeth of fish. Staggering forward, I flung myself high on the beach like one dead, and remained like that until the dawn of the next day, when the sun rose upon me. I staggered myself till I came to a brook, of which I drank. I found luscious fruits and ate them, and drank again of the clear waters of the brook. After this, I advanced farther into the island and found what I perceived as a horse feeding at a great distance. I went towards him, between hope and fear. I heard the voice of a man from underground, who was surprised to see me in such a deserted place. I gave him an account of my adventure, and he took me into the cave where his other companions were sitting. They set food before me. I ate until I was satisfied. He then told me that they are the grooms of King Elmiraj, and had heard that at the sight of the new moon, sea horses appear on this island, and they were there to capture him. As we were talking, a magnificent sea horse rose from the waves, shaking the foam from its crest and neighing loudly. As it approached, my companion drew me into the cave and placed himself at the opening with a long coil of thick cord in his hand. Presently, by means of this, he leashed the sea horse with great dexterity, fettered him, and subdued him. As their mission was accomplished, they decided to leave the desolate place and took me with them. I thank God that I was finally rescued by this group of warriors, who not only gave me food and drink but also took me with them to their kingdom. With them, I went to see their King Mirage. He greeted me very courteously and bade me to tell him my story. After hearing my story, he treated me with honor, and appointed me master of the harbor and controller of the shipping. I worked there for many years, met strangers, and heard their stories. All the time I was looking for someone who could bring me any news from Baghdad. Finally, one day, a ship arrived, and as soon as she cast anchor, and I looked at the name, I couldn't be happier. It was my ship. I went to look for the captain. At first, he couldn't recognize me, but then I showed him my goods and told him the whole story, and some of our adventures. He was really happy to see me alive. I was able to reconnect with my sailors and my ship. Fortunately, they had kept all my goods safe. I approached the king and thanked him for his great kindness to me, and humbly begged his leave to depart to my own city and family. So he gave me his blessing and a great wealth of merchandise and rare commodities and bade me farewell. And soon thereafter, having stowed all my goods in the hold of the ship, I set sail with the others for Baghdad.